Welcome everybody to today's webinar. Thank you for attending today's webinar. As you can see, we have a poll that's running at the moment. This poll is, I just wanted to get some feedback from how are you using the continuous improvement cycle and the policies and procedures that we have in place for your organisation, and whether you are using the cycle at all within your office as a team, or whether you use it personally, or if you hold monthly meetings, are you using it at the monthly meetings? Yeah, so someone just said none of these questions apply to us. So yeah, if you can just let me know, we have it on our quality process in our main database. Okay, so we have a continuous improvement cycle poster that we've just distributed today, and this continuous improvement cycle is part of your Q&C manual. So it's in your quality and compliance manual, and it actually states on there that you will be reviewing a couple of standards each month, and as per what's in the policies and procedures manual. So you'll note in the policies and procedures manual at the bottom of each policy and procedure, so you have the clause, then you have the strategy, and then underneath that, the policy and procedure, the evidence to support that and who's responsible. But you also have a row that's called when you will review this on a monthly basis. So every clause is reviewed on a monthly basis. And this continuous improvement cycle is in the Q&C manual, but we've also created a poster. Now, the poster was made available on Unicorn earlier this year, I think it was, but it came to our attention today that perhaps people weren't using it. So I just wanted to see if people are using it. We've got here that 2 people have printed it and they've got it on display at every desk, which is great. So the whole idea with the continuous improvement cycle is not only looking at the standards, so we actually have it on our desk as well. So everyone in our team has that on the desk, and it not only has the standards that you'll be reviewing each month, but it also has the reporting periods of when you're due to submit your reports to ASQA, and these dates should be actually added to your diary as well, because it's really important that you have those reminders there of when your reports are due. So one of the big things that came up in the last year is that we've had we had a few clients who got an email from ASQA stating that they didn't submit their reports. So what they were actually got a warning, and they actually had to submit a reconsideration because ASQA had stated that they were going to cancel their registration for not complying with the legislation. So, but we've always had these reporting mechanisms on the poster, but I thought I'd make it a bit easier and actually email it out. So we've emailed it out today to everybody, and we're also changed our process, so it now is one of the first documents that you get as part of Kickstart, Reboot or membership package. So we've got someone who's stating that it doesn't apply to them. So we use this as a driving source, which is embedded in our management system and is acted on each month at a management level, but all staff are aware of the strategy and have tasks that underpin the process. Yep, okay, so that's good. So the whole idea about the poster is it's a reminder that instead of having to remember every standard each month or at any given time, like you don't have to try and go through everything. The way I've done it is I've actually clustered the standards that are relevant to each other so that you are reviewing them together at one time. So, and the way I've done the cycle is it's actually based on how busy I know RTOs are. So generally RTOs are pretty slow in January. So I've put training and assessment strategies is something you should review in January because you've got more time to review your training and assessment strategies. And then when I know are the busier times of the years, I've got easier standards. Like December is pretty busy. Most people are trying to get students finalised before the end of the year. So we've got some easier standards to review in December. So that's basically how I've put together the cycle. And it would be great if you have only just seen it in the Q&C manual and you don't actually have it displayed on your desk. Get the poster. I've just emailed it out. The poster, we've changed it a little bit. It's actually got our logo on it and our phone number and email address and things like that, so all our contact details. But yeah, print it out. We laminate it and we just have it sitting at our desk. Everybody has it there. It's just a reminder of when we are reviewing those standards in that month. And then they all tie to these webinars as well, so that you can get the training against that. So thank you very much for everybody who has. I'm glad to see that I have knows what is a continuous improvement cycle. So that was really good. But then it could be that the people who attend the webinars know what it is, but other people in your team don't know what the continuous improvement cycle is. So we had a situation today where we had a CEO who doesn't attend the webinars, who didn't know that we have this poster. So you need to make sure that everyone on your team knows what the continuous improvement cycle is. It's been emailed out today to everybody. So I'm making you champion at your organisation to make sure that everyone is aware of the continuous improvement cycle. And let's get them up on the desk so that everybody knows what we're reviewing that month. And it also has on there a reminder of when the webinars are going to be held. We are in the process of just about to launch a Cricos monthly webinar as well. So the Cricos webinar is going to be based on this sort of structure that we do this webinar, whereby we'll be reviewing a couple of standards each month for the national code for Cricos. So keep your eyes peeled. That's only if you are in any of our Cricos packages that you will get invited to come along to those webinars. Okay, so let's move along. So today's webinar is on standards 3.5, 3.6, 5.3 and 5.4, which is around your USI certifying records, certificates and things like that for students who are applying for credit transfer, your refunds policy and procedures and changes to agreed services. This webinar forms part of your continuous improvement process under Standard 2.2. So following this webinar, you should hold a Q&C meeting, and at that meeting, you should minute that you have attended today's webinar. And more importantly, what have you learnt from the webinar? What practices and systems you might have to adjust? Or is it that you need to adjust the policy and procedure to actually fit in with what your organisation does. So I've just asked meeting starts. Just want to check that everyone can hear me and make sure. I think I have got a couple of people that can hear me. So I've got sound there. If anybody can just say yes, okay, excellent. Yep, excellent, okay. And I know, Mukesh, you had a bad connection there, I could see on my end, and I'll just see if I can, sorry, just let him know that we have commenced. Okay. So you should also review the policy and procedure that relates to the standards that we're reviewing today and identify what needs to be updated, or do you need to implement that into your organisation. So as per the policies and procedures under Standard 2.2, you should, if you identify that there are any improvements that need to be made, so maybe that a policy and procedure needs to be implemented, or you need to adjust one of the policies and procedures, you should complete an opportunity for improvement form and minute that at your monthly meeting to identify that that is a process that you're going to update. You should review any documentation that relates to these standards. So we're going to be going through a few documents today and looking at those documents and how to use those documents. And that's what's really important about these webinars, is we're not just reviewing the policies and procedures, we're also reviewing all of the documentation that supports that and how to use those documents within your organisation. So where do we gain access to all of the standards so we may read and prepare? So I'm not sure which RTO you're with, Nikki, but as part of membership, so Kickstart membership, so unless you're doing PD membership, if you're doing any of the silver, gold, ruby or diamond membership packages, you get the policies and procedures included. And anybody doing Kickstart and Reboot also gets all the policies and procedures included. And those policies and procedures cover every standard. Now, other than that is going to ASQA. So you can go to asqa.gov.au. And on there, they actually have a user guide on how to review of all of the standards. So I'm just going to find that for you. Go back to home. And I'll get that link for you so that you can get access to those. So this is an online interactive user guide on ASQA that you can check out. And that includes all of the standards for RTOs. And what it does is this user guide includes how you should implement those policies and procedures into your organisation. Now, our policies and procedures are based on that user guide, so we use a lot of the evidence that they require within the user guide, and it's written in line with that as well. So, and we're just about to release a new version of the Q&C manual where the major change will be we're putting it in the new audit model. So you'll have it in the process, the same process as how ASQA are auditing, which is starting at marketing, enrolment, and then looking at student support services and progress and assessments right through to certification, which we're doing. We're doing a bit of each. We're doing a bit of refund policy, but also looking at changes to agreed services and USI, which is at the start. So we're looking at a few different things, and credit transfers. So I hope that answered your question, Nikki. All right, so let's start with standard 3.5, which is all about credit transfer. So what this standard says that you must, as an RTO, accept any transcript from another RTO and as a credit transfer if a student wants to apply, and you also need to notify your students that you do offer credit transfer. So the main reason why this standard really came into place is because there were some RTOs, and in particular TAFE, that weren't recognising qualifications or statements of attainments from other RTOs, but in particular TAFE and private providers. So, you know, they would actually reject and say, no, we're not going to accept that as a credit transfer, and you have to do the whole unit again. What the standard basically does is protect the student. You've already done the unit once, you've been deemed competent, you shouldn't have to demonstrate that your competency again, and they're eligible for a credit transfer. So it might be that a student has completed, for example, they might have completed a first aid unit, which is a unit within the qualification that you're offering, and they want to get a credit transfer for that first aid unit for the qualification. For example, it might be childcare qualification or individual support. So certificate 3 or 4 in individual support requires a HLT AID 001, which is CPR, and also first aid, or it might be HLT AID 004, which is first aid specifically for working with vulnerable people. So in order to do this, you need to make sure that you are verifying those certificates and that they're real, because I've actually come across myself where I've been in an audit and I've actually seen certificates where people, trainers, have presented a certificate that wasn't actually a real certificate. So yes, you must provide a credit transfer, but it's your responsibility to verify that unit of competency that they wish to get a transfer for, so that you can verify that it's actually their qualification or unit of competency that they've completed, and that it's valid as well. So the credit transfer policy and procedure in the Q&C manual, which is also within the student handbook and the trainer handbook, outlines this, that the student is eligible to apply for a credit transfer, plus it provides a process for how to apply for a credit transfer. And basically it's filling in this credit transfer form, which I'm going to bring up soon. So that's just a snapshot there of the credit transfer form. So the student completes the credit transfer form to apply for a credit transfer and submits it to the RTO. So you need to identify who that is within your RTO. In the majority, with the policies and procedures, we've identified the RTO manager as the person that they should submit their forms to. So the RTO must cite the original certificates or have a JP signed copy of the certificates before they can process a credit transfer. So you get the original and cite that, but you then also need to take it one step further and verify. Because of technology these days, a lot of people are able to copy certificates and including signatures and things like that. And that's where you've got to make sure that you're protecting your certificates from fraudulent behaviour, which is another standard that we review. So how do you ensure that the certificates that you're citing are true and correct? So that's in another webinar, but a way you can do it is verify, is check the USI on usi.gov.au and actually check the records of the student that they've actually got that unit of competency or qualification. Also, you can have a JP sign it. You can also ring the RTO so that they had the certificate issued from to verify that they actually acquired that unit of competency. So the credit transfer policy is also on the back of the enrolment form. So because it's a requirement that you must notify your students in advance that they are eligible for credit transfer. So this is a copy of the credit transfer form here. So you can download this from Unicorn, which is where all of our documentation is. So the idea about the credit transfer form is the student fills in their details and what units they wish to get credit transfer for. So it might be one unit or it might be a range of units. It could be that they commenced the qualification with another RTO and dropped out and now they're transferring to your RTO. They have a transcript of the units that they completed. They want to get credit transfer for those units to become into your RTO. So they fill this in with the units. You can do it as an RTO with the student, so you can sit with them and go through that. And then so I'm just going to bring up the documents so that we can have a look at what that looks like and we can zoom in a bit closer as well on the document. So which is certainly going to help you to have a look at how the form is filled out. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. I've just got a new laptop, so it's now asking me for an extension to do that. We're going to find this document. And I'll just bring this Word document up over here. Where is it? Where have you gone? Credit transfer. And I'll bring this form up over on my other screen for you. And we'll have a look at this this credit transfer form. So the whole idea about the credit transfer form is that the student fills it in, but it can be someone within the RTO, as I said. Then we go down, so we fill in what units do they wish to apply for. And then it's, so as the assessor reviews this, so you should have someone who holds a certificate for training and assessment who should, it doesn't have to be the actual trainer. As long as they hold a certificate for training and assessment, they can assist with the credit transfer process. So the assessors to complete, so they need to tick the appropriate box. So transcript has been checked, units are current and equivalent, and student is eligible to apply for a credit transfer. Transcript has been checked and the student is eligible for credit transfer for some of the units, but not all of the units. Transcript has been checked and the student is not eligible for a credit transfer. And if they're not eligible, you need to put in here the reasons why they're not eligible. So it could be that they didn't have a direct equivalent unit. It could have been a superseded unit and there's no direct equivalence within the performance criteria and the assessment conditions within that unit. So that would be a reason why you would reject a credit transfer, is because it's not a direct equivalent unit. So for example, with the childcare early education and childcare qualification. There was a major change back in 2008 where previously the qualification it was superseded in 2008, and when it was superseded, none of the it's 2013. I'm sorry, it was 2013. When it was superseded, there was no direct equivalence between the old units of competencies to the new units of competency. So if they held the old qualification and wished to get a credit transfer into the new one, none of the units had a direct equivalent, so you could reject that. And how you find that out is you go onto training.gov.au, and I'll show you how to do that as well, because that one's really important. Let's see which screen I can open up for you. Open up this one. So on training.gov.au, you can have a look at 2 units of competency, and you can do what's called a compare of those 2 units of competencies to identify whether it's a direct equivalent or not. So basically you would look at, so I'm going to CHC, I'll try and find a superseded one. I can't remember the old unit now, so I just got to remember. Come on. I just got to remember what the superseded unit is. So basically it'll be a unit of competency, and you look at any of these superseded ones. So I'm just trying to see where there was childcare ones. I know, I want to modify search because I know it was a babies and toddlers. Maybe you've actually typed it correctly. Okay, care for babies. Yes, so CHC, provide care. Here we go. So this is the old unit that I'm bringing up. So you can see that it's been superseded by another unit of competency. So you can actually do a compare of that unit of competency. This looks like it might be a one that's been superseded by another one as well. That looks a bit. Sorry, I've got slow internet too. I might turn my video off because that slows everything down. Oh. Let's see. See if we can find it. Okay, care for babies and provide care for babies. So this is the old unit and this is the new unit. So you can actually compare 2 units. So the way you do that is we go and have a look at this one. $, and I'm going to have to go and start again. Sorry, it's not letting me find it. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at this one. So the way you look at it is what it does is it brings up the old unit and the new unit and then does a comparison between the 2 units. And generally you can do it by just looking up the unit. So you can actually have a look at the unit and then it will ask you, do you want to compare content of this unit of competency with previous releases? So you can have a look at what the unit and the assessment requirements were of a previous level of that unit. So we want to do the latest unit and we want to compare it with an old one, and this is how you would work out whether they're eligible for a credit transfer. So this will show you the modification history of what's changed. So, and in here it says anything that has a red cross in it means that that's changed. And it should have somewhere whether it's a direct equivalent or not. Yeah, so here we go. So you can see here, so all that red, that's a not equivalent. So a lot of those, it's changed so much that it's no longer equivalent in what it was doing before. So you need to have a look, and it actually does tell you somewhere whether it's a direct equivalent or not. I wonder if it's at the top. Yeah, so it's not, yeah, so everything has changed within it. So it's not the same at all. So what happens then is you could just say, so for example, if I was doing a check now, I would see that this is not a direct equivalent and that I would have to, they wouldn't be eligible for a credit transfer. So yeah, so that just gives you, just to identify how to look at a credit transfer. You can do it by looking at that. Oh, okay, all right, I'll get back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so then you would fill in why, and then there would be a checklist on, you know, whether units of competencies are equivalent, they're eligible for a credit transfer, a student has been notified in writing of the outcome of the credit transfer. So that's the whole purpose of that credit transfer form, is that they apply for a credit transfer through that form. Okay, all right, so now the student is eligible. So you've identified that the student is eligible for a credit transfer. So what you need to do now is you've got to cite the original certificate, take a copy of it, and then you need to certify it as a true and correct copy. So we recommend that you get a stamp similar to this, certified true copy of the original document. Anyone within the RTO, they don't have to be a JP, can sign off on the certified copy. So you can have anybody within the RTO who is a permanent employee within the organisation can sign off that this is a certified true and correct copy. So I highly recommend, like this stamp you can just buy from Officeworks. So they're available. You don't need to get one made up or anything like that. They're readily available for you to use. So you should cite the original certificate, take a copy, stamp it and sign it that you certify that this is a true and correct copy. So when you certify it, you're certifying that the actual unit that they wish to apply for credit transfer is eligible. Now, while we're on that subject, we'll look at certified copies of IDs. So in some occasions, you'll need to get certified copies of IDs for enrolment. Might be part of the enrolment process. So you identify that the student has their ID. So you've certified that their ID is true and correct, but might also be that they need to apply for a police record check or working with children check or something like that. Licensing, so anything to do with truck licensing or anything like that, also needs to get a certified copy of the ID. So once again, if you're taking a photocopy of it, you can use the stamp, but these are other ways you can do it. So you can write on it, I certify that this is a true and correct copy of the original document signed by me, and you put your name in, you sign your signature, what date it was, and then you could do an authority to sign if you wanted to do a JP, or you can have that stamp. So you can pop that stamp in there as well. So that's just some examples of certifying ID. Now, anytime you take a photocopy of any ID and you need that for your record, so it might be for licensing requirements or anything like that, you need to certify it as a true and correct copy. And this includes for your trainers and assessors. You must have a certified copy within your staff files of that is a true and correct copy of the original. So you need to make sure that you're doing that, and that's why we recommend get this stamp. It's the easiest way to do certified. Okay, so with the USI, so the major changes that have happened with the USI is now there's a national register of every qualification that a student has completed. So as part of your requirements, you are to submit an EVETMIS report, and in that EVETMIS report is how many commencements you had, how many completions you've had in a unit of competency or qualification. But you would also have in there what year they were born, what language they speak at home, what's the highest qualification they've achieved and things like that. But you'll also keep a register of what units or qualifications they've completed, which goes into a USI register. And that's why we've got to match it up with the USI Unique Student Identifier number, which then goes into this register. So what happens now is, so in the past, if an RTO shut down or transferred names or they moved address or, you know, something like that, it was very hard for a student to get a certificate reissue of that certificate because they because they weren't able to find that RTO or get access to that organisation. So what they did is they created this USI register, which keeps a register of every qualification. And it started in 2011, but it only came into force from 2015, where they made it compulsory with every RTO. So slowly we'll get a record of every single qualification that a student would receive. Now, if you get a student who's applying for a credit transfer who knows that they've done a unit but they haven't got a record of that certificate, you can actually get them to log into usi.gov.au where they'll see their record and they'll be able to get a USI transcript. And that's what this one is. So it's a transcript that they can get from the USI register, and it includes details. So it comes from the government, and it includes the student details, any nationally recognised VET qualifications that they've completed, the name of the training organisation that issued the qualification, any nationally recognised VET units and modules completed, the name of the training organisation that delivered the units and modules or subjects, funding source for any units, modules, and so it's basically got a whole certificate of what they can get access to through usi.gov.au. Okay, so this is an example of the back page of the USI transcript. So they've got the back page of the transcript contains following information. So the transcript has a disclaimer which provides important information about the content of the transcript, and it has explanatory notes that provide descriptions of the abbreviated values used in the transcripts for the unit, module, outcome and funding source. So that's a USI certificate and how you can access that. So the student identifier scheme is, as I stated, it was a national database that they've put together where they keep a record of every qualification or unit of competency that a student has completed. And in that, it also verifies student details, and when you issue a certificate or a statement of attainment, your data should then go against their USI number, and they can log on to the national database and get access to it, but so can employers and other RTOs where they can access that. So it's your responsibility to ensure that you're verifying USI numbers and that you have a database in place that can verify that. There are a lot of databases that are out there right now that do link into the USI register, and it can verify, they can verify the certificates through the database. I know VetTrack does it, I think Accelerate does it as well. So there's a range of databases that can do that. So this is the standards around USI. Within the policy and procedure, so we have it within the student handbook, and it outlines how to assist the student with applying for a USI. So what is the requirements for them to do that if they haven't got one? We're getting to the stage now where a lot of students do have a USI already, so which is great, compared to back in 2015, but you will get still quite a few students who don't have a USI yet, and it would be your responsibility to assist them or ensure, because you can't issue any certificates without a USI and that you've verified that USI. So on our enrolment form, agreement form template, we include a disclaimer on the form about collecting the USI and that you'll ensure that you'll maintain privacy and confidentiality of their USI number. We also have a privacy notice document that you can that they can cite that says that you're going to assist them with obtaining the number, but you'll ensure the privacy and confidentiality of those student files, and that you'll destroy any records that you collect to verify those the USI. So most students have one by now, but you will have occasions where they won't. So register on USI. As a training organisation, you should be collecting and reporting your students' USI numbers because it's a requirement of the Commonwealth legislation. As a condition of your registration. So this applies to new students, pre-enrolled students, continuing students, school students completing nationally recognised training. Before you can issue a qualification or statement of attainment to a student, you must either collect and verify the student's existing USI or create a USI on behalf of the student with their permission. For either of these actions, you will need to have access to the USI registry system. So this is the website that you go to. So usi.gov.au/training-organisations. But if you just go to the USI website, you'll be able to get access to that, and you'll be able to review what is the process for getting a USI. There's also a very helpful video on there that you can share on your website, which or with students on how to apply for a USI. So USI forms. So you'll see on Unicorn we have a range of USI forms that are from the government, and these forms are fact sheets on how the RTO can access the USI through the USI website, how the student can apply for a USI. There's also fact sheet information, student information for the USI. There's a poster that you can access on usi.gov.au and the USI registry system. We also put information on the we also have information about the USI on the enrolment form. We've got the privacy notice. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. Once again, I've got the USI form that you can have a look at. So this is a poster that you can get from usi.gov.au. So you can download it from there, but it's also in Unicorn, so you can access that poster from Unicorn. And it's just a poster about what is the USI and have you registered for it yet or anything. And it's a great idea to have that up around your organisation for information for the students. Here is a form that you can get. This is also available. All of these documents are available on Unicorn. So RTO accessing the unique student identifier through the USI website. So if you're an initial registration kickstart package, you'll be interested in this and how to access the forms and how to verify and what you need to do before you log in. So all of that you can access through Unicorn, but you can also just go to usi.gov.au and have a look at that. Next one is a fact sheet you can give to your students, which, no, this is RTO again, so, and it's the student information for the unique student identifier. Yeah, it goes to the student. So it explains to the student what is a USI and why you have to have a process for applying for a USI. So that's it, USI. Oh, and that was that continuous improvement. This is the one that we've just emailed out today. Sorry, I meant to show this to you earlier. So you should have received this today, which is the continuous improvement cycles that you should put on up around your desk. So that's the USI. And we'll go back to the PowerPoint. Oops, no, might be a good idea if I actually had the right PowerPoint. Open this year's, not last year's, I think. Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. So there's some forms that you can access about the USI. Now, I don't know whether this is applicable anymore, but you could apply for exemption from USI. It used to be if you were short courses, if you had short courses, you can apply for an exemption. But there has to be, the only way you can apply for exemption now is if by collecting student information, it's going to be a danger to the security of the nation. So anybody in the security or, armed forces, so in the armed forces or police departments, they are exempt from USI. If otherwise, you have to apply. So there has to be a good reason why you're applying for exemption from the USI and collecting this data. Though, as you can see, they'd want to make sure that they've got plenty of data collected so that the student can have access to all of their qualifications and certificates that they've completed. But it's also a great way for organisations to verify qualifications of a potential employee, and also in particular when you're engaging trainers and assessors, you should be verifying their qualifications on usi.gov.au. But yeah, there used to be other exemptions if you had short courses. within your RTO, you could apply for an exemption, but that's no longer. You now all have to apply. So a student may be exempt from applying for a USI or recording results within the USI database if they work within an industry that could affect the security of the nation, for example, military forces and things like that. In addition, individuals who have a genuine personal objection, so an individual can apply, and you need to, if an individual rejects having their USI details taken, you need to get them to sign a document to state that they did not want to be, and you need to do this to protect yourself really, that they did not wish to be on the USI register. But it's only if they ask you that you would give them an exemption. If the student is exempt from USI, student details will not be recorded on the USI database or on a VET. This means that your assessment results will not appear on their authenticated VET transcripts or be available via the USI system. So it's not a good idea. It's better off if you can go in the USI register because you'll have all your details in there. So I wouldn't be recommending to any students that they don't use it, because if they lose their certificates, it's very hard for them to get a certificate reissued. Okay, so that's USI. So now we're up to standard 5.3, which is about course fees, payments and refunds. So this is where if you collect fees from individual learner, either directly or through a third party, so that could be a marketing organisation or someone who's marketing on your behalf or recruiting your students on your behalf, the RTO provides or directs the learners to information prior to enrolment or the commencement of training and assessment, whichever comes first, specifying all of the relevant fee information. So this is all the fees, every single fee that the student will be required to pay in order to complete this course. So this includes your training fees, but also if you require the student to purchase their own textbooks or assessment tools or other equipment in order to complete the course, you need to be clear and transparent up front what all of those fees are going to be, and it should be on your marketing material prior to course commencement. There should be no surprises with any fees. You should not be asking for any more money, or you can do payment plans and things like that if you wanted to, but you shouldn't be, oh, now here's another fee and here's another fee and here's another fee. You should be clear and transparent up front what all of those fees will be and what will be your payment terms and conditions, including what's your required deposits and what will be your refund policy and procedure. So we have standard within the Q&C manual, student handbook, and on the enrolment form that you have a administration fee, and that is anywhere between $50 to $80, but I think we have it as blank and it's highlighted in yellow. So it's up to you to update what those fees are going to be for a refund policy. The learner's rights as a consumer, including but not limited to the statutory cooling off period. So we have that on the back of the enrolment form, student handbook, and the Q&C manual. And also the learner's rights to obtain a refund for services not provided by the RTO in the event the arrangement is terminated early. So this is any changes to agreed services that you may have made. So within the policy and procedure, we have it in the enrolment form, the student handbook, and it's also on your course flyers. We have a cooling off period, and the standard across Australia is 10 business days. So that's what we have within all of the policies and procedures, that you will give the students 10 business days to cool off. That's if they want to change their mind and they want to pull out of the course, you give them up to 10 days. But you can charge them any administration fee that you want within that cooling off period. So if there's any admin fee that you want to charge, you can do that. If your course fees are over $1,500 in total, you should have a payment plan in place. This is fee protection or a tuition assurance scheme. So particularly if you're doing Cricos, you'll need tuition assurance. So we have a mechanism in place for protecting fees paid in advance by having progress payments of $1,500, and so you can get a deposit of $1,500, and then the remaining amount should be over the duration of the course, with the payment plan over the duration of the course. So you could have a percentage that they pay each month, or it could be weekly. You can have a range of different payment options as long as you're not taking more than $1,500 in any payment stage. Course fees, payments, refunds and certifications. So this outlines where the student will find information about fees, which includes enrolment agreement form, student handbook, course flyer. So you should have your course flyer on there. So all fees must be clear and transparent, and there cannot be any surprises. You need to ensure that the course flyer complies with all the course fees that must be paid. The information must be provided to the student prior to course commencement. We also have a refund request form, and with the refund request form, the student should complete this form in order to apply for a refund. So we have this form on Unicorn, so you can access this form on there. Here's an example of what the form looks like. So the refund request form, the student fills in and they sign it, and then it also has the process on how you'll issue the refund. So whether it would be check, credit card reimbursement, debit card reimbursement, FPOS or direct deposit. So how are you going to process that? But this is the form that the students complete when they're applying for a credit transfer. Oh, no, credit transfer, refund, a refund. So, yeah. So you can access that document from Unicorn as well. Okay. Fee protection policy. So our standard procedure for fee protection is not to charge more than $1,500 prior to course commencement, but we do have some other options that's in the policies and procedures manual. You need to have a look at the Q&C manual to look at what the different options are. So there's threshold prepaid fees, unconditional financial guarantee. So you could get a bank guarantee from the bank. This will cost you money to do that. So it means that you'll be able to take fees up front, but you will have to pay a fee to the bank for them to secure that payment up front. So the big thing is if the student drops out, or if you have to cancel the course, or and you need to provide a refund, how are you going to be able to do that? How are you going to ensure that the fees are there to be able to provide a refund? So it could be you have a trust account and you have the money held in a trust account, or you might be using like an insurance mechanism, like a tuition insurance scheme. So more information can be found under Standard 7.3 in the Q&C manual about that. So the consumer guarantee, this is in line with their trading requirements. So the requirements with the learner's rights as a consumer. So the guarantee outlines the services provided by the RTO will be provided with due care and skill, is fit for any specified purpose, so express or implied, provided within a reasonable time frame, so when no time frame is set for the training, and the consequences listed if the guarantee is not met refers to the student's complaints and appeals policy and procedure. And we'll actually have a look at how that aligns with this part, which is changes to agreed services. So where there are any changes to agreed services, the RTO advises the learner as soon as practical, including the relation to any new third-party arrangements or a change of ownership or changes in existing third-party arrangements. So this policy and procedure is in the student handbook. It's also on the back of the enrolment form, and it basically includes all of this, so changes to agreed services. So if you have a change of third party, so it might be you have a third party delivering a first aid unit or one of the units from the qualification. So how are you going to notify the students if there is a change of that third party? You might have a change of location, so you have a new delivery site. How are you going to notify the student of that change of location? So the whole process is there in the manual. Or change of trainer, so they might get a new trainer. So this is the process on how you ensure the student is informed of any changes of the trainer. And in the event, if you have a change of ownership within the RTO, what are you going to do? What will your process be for notifying the students? There you go. So that's it for today. So that's all around USI, credit transfer, refunds, policies and procedures as well. And how nice, easy one today. Now, if you have any questions about anything that was in today's webinar, or anything else that you would like to ask a question about, it can be about any of the standards, or it could also be about things that are not related to the standards that we reviewed today. It could be any other standards, or it could be just a general question you have around your registration. You can pop that in the chat box right now, and I can discuss that with everybody. So I won't identify who it is who has popped the question in there. We'll just answer that question. In the meantime, next month's webinar will be on the 8th of October. So there's a public holiday the first Monday of October. So we will be going on the second Monday of October, which will be the 8th of October. So next month we'll be going through marketing and information provided to students prior to course commencement. This one's a good webinar. I like doing that one because marketing is an area that I really enjoy. It's an area that I specialise in. It's my background. But we'll actually be reviewing a couple of people's websites, and I'll be asking for some volunteers for clients who wish us to review their website, because I'll review their website as part of the webinar. So if you're game, I'm quite happy to review your website and identify if there's any opportunities for improvement within that website. And we'll be going through what can and cannot be on your website. Also, we'll be looking at other marketing materials, but in the majority, it's around websites. I'll be showing you some good websites, and I'll be showing you some non-compliant websites. So I come across them all the time in my area. So we'll be having a look at that. And we'll also be looking at the information you provide the student prior to course commencement. So that includes your student handbook, enrolment form, and looking at the documentation that you provide to the student in order to assist them with making an informed decision. Looks like we have no questions, so thank you very much for attending today's session. Please note that today's webinar has been recorded for your convenience, and a copy will be emailed to you following the session once it's downloaded, and we'll send you a link to the webinar, and you can distribute that to your team. But thank you very much for attending today's webinar. We've got a very, very busy next couple of months. Next week, so I'm off to Brisbane this week. So I've got workshops, Cricos, RTO and assessment validation workshops in Brisbane this week. Next week, we're off to the VELD conference in Adelaide. So if you're going to be at the VELD conference in Adelaide, come and check me out or send me a message because I'd love to catch up with you. So we'll be there on the Thursday and Friday. So Dave will be coming along as well. The VELD conference is a very good training conference for RTOs and the vet sector. There's also some really good suppliers that will be there as well. So I've got When Are You Next in Sydney. So don't know whether you know Juliet, but you're talking about workshops, but Vivacity is now located in Sydney. So we're on the Northern Beaches in Sydney. But our next workshops in Sydney will be first week in December, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in December. We'll be having the workshops there. So on the Wednesday is the Cricos, the Thursday is RTO, and the Friday is assessment validation. It's the first week in December. I just haven't got those dates in front of me, but first week in December. So we'll send you information about those workshops coming up. If you are currently I think it's Ruby or Diamond member, you'll get access to those workshops. So you get 2 registrations and you get to choose which workshops you would like to go to. If you're a Kickstart, you get the RTO compliance and assessment validation workshop. If you're doing Cricos Kickstart, you get the Cricos workshop. So you'll get sent an invitation about that. We have Emma, who is now sending out all the information to you about the workshops. You can contact Emma on 91147701, but you can also email Emma at Vivacity Coaching, .com.au if you'd like some workshop information sent to you. If you just get in contact with Emma, she can send that workshop information out to you. If you're not currently a member of those packages that include the workshops, there will be a fee. So it's $3.97 per day or $5.97 for 2, and $7.97 for the 3 workshops. You can also go to our website. There's more information, and you can register online on our website, and all those dates are on the website right now. So you can book now if you'd like to go to any of those workshops. Now, if you are, as a member, you do get 10% discount. So I'd recommend you don't book online. You actually get in contact contact with us, and we will send you an invoice because you get 10% discount on top of that. On another note, I didn't get a webinar reminder for today. Oh, I had to use one of the from the last month. Do you still send those reminders out? Okay, Julia, I'll get onto that and find out why you didn't get the reminder and find out what's going on there. Not sure whether your membership's still up to date, so we'll just check on that as well, but I'll get Emma to get in contact with you to find out why you didn't get your reminders of the webinars. Thank you very much for attending today's webinar. Look forward to catching up with you next month after a very, very busy month. The next conference also in October is the Australian International Education Conference, which is on the 10th, 11th and 12th of October in Sydney. So we'll be going to that one as well. So if you're interested in international education, I can highly recommend that you go along to the Australian International Education Conference on those days, and you can catch up with me there too. So love to catch up. Love catching up with our clients. So looking forward to it. We have about 8 clients, I think, going to the VEL conference. So looking forward to catching up with you all there. Thank you for attending today's webinar, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon. Thanks. Bye.